What you're looking at is not real. Sorry, let me rephrase that. Yes, this music video is real in the sense that you can find it on YouTube and watch it if you're so inclined. It's called Only You if you really want to see it. But that's about where the real description ends. There was no camera crew behind it, no director or editors deciding what footage makes the final cut, no human even made the song itself. This is the work of two pieces of software, Suno AI and Google's Veo 3. Both of these function using generative AI trained off of hundreds of thousands of hours of data that may or may not be stolen from real human creators. Artists, musicians, writers, animators, you get the idea. Among other reasons, AI can be problematic for creatives because it can replicate artistic styles and generate content without proper credit or compensation to the original artists. This undermines creative labor, making it harder for human creators to earn a living or stand out. Additionally, widespread AI-generated art risks diluting cultural authenticity and reducing the perceived value of human creativity. And what's especially concerning is that in many contexts, AI-generated content has become so difficult to distinguish from human-made content that you probably didn't notice that last paragraph in my script was copy-pasted from the response to a prompt that I fed into ChatGPT with no alterations made. Now, before I get into the nitty-gritty details of this stuff, the question needs to be asked. What am I talking about? What is generative AI exactly? For starters, generative AI is itself a subcategory of AI, or artificial intelligence, which is a field in computer science that is involved with making computer systems that can perform tasks typically associated with human intelligence, such as learning, reasoning, pattern recognition, perception, problem solving, etc. In short, the idea of artificial intelligence is making computers that can think for themselves. It's been applied in a variety of fields already, such as medicine, engineering, military, security, disaster management, list goes on. One of the most important things to know about most, if not all, AI systems is that they need existing data to function. They need to be sort of taught what patterns to recognize and how to extrapolate them in many cases. Much like how a human, learns things. You give the AI a database full of information, let's say different photos of trees. And through trial and error, it makes associations between the pieces of information that you give it. And this can also be used to generate new information. This particular kind of AI is what we call generative AI. And from this point on, know that when I say AI, I'm specifically referring to generative AI. Basically, you give the AI a collection of data, be it audio, video, photos, text, or any combination of those. And as it learns to associate them all with one another, it also learns to generate new data with it, basically being able to produce the statistical average of all of the relevant data it has, with some variations. The problem with it, though, is that in order to be effective, it needs to have a lot of data to work with. So to solve this problem, the people training these AI systems collect a lot of data. But you might be asking, where does this data come from? To answer that, OpenAI has stated that OpenAI's foundation models, including the models that power ChatGPT, are developed using three primary sources of information. 1, information that is publicly available on the internet. 2, information that we partner with third parties to access. And 3, information that our users, human trainers, and researchers provide or generate. So, in short, especially with that first one, it is able to get data from anywhere off of the internet, pretty much. So what that means is if a professional artist who, makes money off of commissions posts something really cool on their Twitter that they made, Unfortunately, some AI program somewhere has probably already gone and taken it to add to its database.
Eliana Esquivel has been making art since she was 16, sometimes even when she was living in her car. Art was her way out back then and is her full-time job now. When she figured out her work was scraped for AI, she was in the beginning of a residency at Goodyear Arts at Camp North End.
And to see that it was scraped and that people are just reproducing it for free with no context as to how it was made or like why it was made, I don't know, that was a really kind of like sobering moment of like artists need to protect their work a little bit more.
And now someone else can put in the right prompts and effectively borrow that artist's work for free. And now, that original artist who possibly uses their art to pay rent, buy food, generally make a living, has ended up teaching their own replacement how to do exactly what it is that they have been doing for years. And yeah, so they're not compensated for this, as you can probably guess. In fact, the opposite is often possible, if not even more likely. In many cases, bad actors are able to take advantage of this in the name of making some quick money themselves. Tech Radar's Eric Schwartz wrote that, quote, "With streaming platforms facing 99,000 uploads a day, most of which are pushed through third-party distributors that rely on user-submitted metadata, it's not hard to slip something fake into a real artist's profile." Let's say I could generate a piece of AI music and attach it to Taylor Swift's profile to get Taylor Swift's exposure. And due to the way that these distribution systems are set up, revenue doesn't go to the artist listed under the release. Rather, it goes to the distributor, who then pushes the money out to whoever it is that uploaded it, which really could be anyone, unfortunately. These distributors do have some hoops that you have to jump through in order to make sure that it's actually you uploading your own original work under your name. But for the most part, that's literally just a checkbox confirming, yes, I own the music that I'm putting out. And that's just for music. With other art forms, it can be even easier, be it visual art, film, animation, writing, so long as you have the right keywords to work around the fact that many services have put restrictions in place preventing you from asking for a specific artist's style. Really all you have to do is enter the right keywords and it'll be able to give you exactly what you want, whether it's legal or not. So, aside from the fact that it's kind of messed up to just type words into a computer, make it generate audio based off of all of the other data that, again, may or may not be stolen, and then pass that off on as your own work, you can probably guess that on the legal side, it's a bit of a mess right now. Earlier this year, the U.S. Copyright Office issued a statement on the copyrightability of AI-generated works. And this is what they had to say about it, among other things in the 52-page document. Copyright law has long adapted to new technology and can enable case-by-case determinations as to whether AI-generated outputs reflect sufficient human contribution to warrant copyright protection. As described above, in many circumstances, these outputs will be copyrightable in whole or in part, where AI is used as a tool and where a human has been able to determine the expressive elements they contain. Prompts alone, however, at this stage are unlikely to satisfy those requirements. The office continues to monitor technological and legal developments to evaluate any need for a different approach. Fortunately, though nothing exists in the federal level in the US at this time, at the state level, there is actually quite a bit of legislation regulating AI, which is very good for creators such as myself. In 2024, the state of Alabama passed legislation prohibiting a person from distributing what they call materially deceptive media, which depicts an individual engaging in speech or conduct in which the depicted individual did in fact not engage. In the state of Tennessee, the Ensuring Likeness, Voice, and Image Security Act, or the Elvis Act, was signed into law also in 2024, which protects the voices of songwriters, performers, and celebrities from artificial intelligence and deepfakes by prohibiting the use of AI to mimic a person's voice without their consent. Legislation was introduced in 2025 in the state of Texas that would require disclosures on certain political advertisements that contain altered media, including the usage of, again, AI. The state of Wisconsin passed a law that does, again, require the same disclosures for political advertisements that contain artificially generated media. And that's literally just 4 different examples that I've given. The list that I found just goes on and on. Now, while these are steps in the right direction, it's important to note that you can't possibly police every instance of AI usage, which means that it's still extremely easy for someone who's, working on something that requires art to take advantage of an artist for free, regardless of whether or not that artist's work is actually free. And this is happening all the time, which, quite frankly, as a musician myself, it's a little bit scary out there. Because other than the option of just simply not putting my work out there, there's not a whole lot that I can do to keep my creative work safe. I wish I could say that this has a happy ending, but to be honest, I just don't know if there's a definitive end in sight to this issue. For now, the best thing that we as creatives can do, and also for non-creators to be able to do, is support our fellow artists. It's another fascinating thing that I've found, actually, with AI devaluing human work to the extent that it is, it's almost paradoxically making it all the more desirable. And there's really something about the human aspect of these things that is really key to just what makes art and music art. It's inherently human, and that's pretty cool.